Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on transforming AEC Project Lifecycle with Deltek AI. I'm Thomas Dodds, your host, founder, and CEO of slashBlue. We help firms protect their reputation and grow revenues through technology strategy, AI advisory, cybersecurity, and managed services. If you stick around to the end, I'll have a special gift for you, so stay tuned. I'm really excited. Our guest today is Bret Tushaus, Vice President of Product Strategy at Deltek. Bret brings a lot of experience in product innovation and has been instrumental in developing AI solutions that are reshaping how AEC firms operate with his roadmap and what he's doing with Deltek. And so today, we'll explore how Deltek AI and the rest of their products are revolutionizing the project lifecycle management, helping firms increase revenue, save time, and improve cost efficiency. So, Bret, welcome to the webinar. Love to have you share a brief introduction about Deltek's vision for AI and the AEC space.
Thank you, Tom, so much for having me here. I think this will be a great conversation. And, as you asked, just a little sort of quick intro in terms of how Deltek is viewing artificial intelligence in the context of our product portfolio and the industries that we're serving. And in theory, if you could bring up the slides, there's a good graphic I want to share here that I think really demonstrates this. And everything we do at Deltek is focused on project-focused businesses, which is obviously super relevant in the architecture, engineering, construction space. And when we think about artificial intelligence, it's, how can we make that project lifecycle smarter? And everything that we sort of do within our products, we answer back to the 5 phases of the project lifecycle: win, manage, develop, deliver, measure, that so many of your businesses, the audience's businesses, sort of work through on a day-to-day basis. So anything that we can do to make each phase of that lifecycle smarter through artificial intelligence and through technology in general is what we're focused on. And one of the things that we've done recently is we introduced sort of a new AI brand with across the Deltek portfolio called Della. And Della is really sort of our overarching AI brand, AI feature set. And we're focused on 3 things right now. One is generating smart content. All of our solutions have a wealth of information in them that our customers, your customers, can use to generate content. Let's leverage all of that data that's sort of been a byproduct of executing projects for many, many years. And then it's also predicting project success. Obviously, anything that we can do to help people get better line of sight into how their projects are tracking, good, positive, course corrections, that type of thing is huge. And then intelligent exploration. We know one of the challenges that our customers have, and quite frankly, any sort of user of an accounting or ERP system, is getting the data out and knowing where to find information. So, that intelligent exploration through I think is a key part of sort of leveraging AI within this space and within these types of tools and technology.
That's fantastic. Seeing a lot of people doing that. This is really comprehensive and a cohesive view of how it helps the AEC project lifecycle. So, as we dive into it, one of the big questions we get, Bret, is about revenue growth. How exactly is Deltek as a platform, the tools, and the AI helping businesses improve revenue opportunities?
Well, I think it's interesting. We do a survey every year at Deltek called Clarity. Some of the people on the
Mhm.
call might be aware of this, but it's a survey that we do across architecture, engineering, on benchmarking how businesses are performing, what
Mm.
technology they're focused on, all sort of different things. And one of the things that we ask every year over the past, I would say 3, 4 years now, is how customers are applying AI within their business. And one of the, I think, low hanging fruit, if you will, relates to proposal generation and
Yes.
assistance with proposals and that type of thing. And if theory could bring up the slides, just a great example of how this can manifest itself in the world of AEC today. This isn't a Deltek specific example. This is using Claude, a common ChatGPT like tool that's out there. But the idea here is I've got an RFP that's about 100 pages long, and I want to understand, what are the key parts of this RFP? How do I respond to it? What are the key requirements required? And through a tool like Claude, I can upload this RFP and I can ask it a question. Hey, I'm thinking of submitting a proposal for this. What would be the required outline? What's the key parts that I need for this? And it will very quickly, in a matter of seconds, come back with, hey, here's the outline you should use. Here's the evaluation criteria. Can even follow up with a question. Are there any special terms and condition, minority business requirements, or things like that that I should be aware of? And it gives me that information. So, a pretty simple example, but man, this is incredibly powerful in terms of a really quick, hey, I've got this RFP. Is my company suited for it? What are the key things I need to think about if I'm going to, submit a proposal on this? And I can decide then to dive in deeper or, maybe spend my time elsewhere. So a great example, like I said, one of those low hanging fruit things when it comes to, in this case, generative AI.
That's great. We're seeing people use that just to leverage the data that they have, whether it's inside of Deltek or proposals that they've generated outside of it and on their SharePoint. How do you work with cloud and some of the data that's in Ordella and some of the data that's in Deltek already in terms of the CRM data or otherwise? Do you have any examples of that?
Well, I think probably getting back to one of the things I talked about with Dell in regards to intelligent exploration, the ability to give AI or put AI tools at the fingertips of our users to explore that data, whether it be pipeline related or, a big part of CRM is cultivating relationships, right? So understanding when was the last time I had a touch point with this client or that client, and those types of things, and be able just to ask that question to the system versus knowing what report to run or where to find that data. Say, hey, when was the last time I met with John Doe? And not only does it give me an answer, but it tells me, hey, you met with them on this date and this is what you talked about.
That's great. It sounds like there's a lot of capability that people need to know about. Just asking the right questions, knowing what they can ask of the data, what's stored in the platform and the various tools that you've got. And we're seeing firms leverage that data alongside a lot of other tools to accelerate proposal writing, managing their assets and RFPs. And it's had a profound effect on saving engineers time who don't like doing that stuff anyway, and
Right.
also accelerating business development. So the engineers get more time to bill hours and produce more proposals with less effort and get back to the work that they love to do. So speaking of time savings, many firms are also concerned about project delivery and identifying obstacles and improving efficiency, improving quality. How do Deltek's products help teams improve quality and save time, and even using AI as they manage and deliver projects?
Yeah, I think probably the best example is as sort of I look at, how we're serving the AE industry comes around specifications. Every
Yeah.
architecture engineering firm has to deal with specifications in some shape or form. There, if you could bring up the slides again, a great example of this in the Deltek ecosphere, and whether or not you're using the Deltek tool for this or some other tool doesn't make a difference. What I want to sort of emphasize here is authoring specifications historically has been sort of a dumb process in terms of disconnected documents and not really collaborative and somewhat inefficient. And
Yeah. Where
we
do I find
introduced
the data? Who do I talk to?
yeah, exactly. And the other thing, Tom, is oftentimes you've got that one or two people in the business that have this wealth of information in them when it comes to
Yes.
specifications and whatnot. How you get that out of them and harvest that for the rest of the firm. And this tool that we've been working on at Deltek called SpecPoint, it's a cloud-based collaborative authoring tool for specifications. It's built on AI Master Spec, and it too has the ability to leverage generative AI so that you can again have a conversation with your specifications and supporting information. And the video that's going to play here on the screen is an example of that. This is SpecPoint Live, and you
Awesome.
can see I'm starting to ask questions, about this case, a specific building material that I want to use on this product. So it's a great way to, like I said, capture some of that information that's trapped in the heads of some of the smartest, most tenured people in your business, but also provide you insights on what's the right material to use in this situation, what should I be aware of with this particular material or this particular requirement around a material. So a great example of in this case generative AI in action, and how that can tie to a specifications process.
That's fantastic. That can save a lot of time, and I think it also addresses some of the concern people have about generative AI and what they hear about hallucinations and in the data and how accurate is it. When you're dealing with math, the AI is going to be a lot more accurate. When you're dealing with generating designs, you can help ideate designs, and it's specifically this kind of thing on spec point with the quality checking. You can use mathematics and you can check that, and it's going to be a lot more accurate than some other things you might do in AI. Sounds really great. We're seeing teams save that time, redeploy it to more high value activities. And like you said, that person that knows the most in the firm doesn't have to get hit so much with questions when other people have access to the things that they've produced. So great
Exactly.
time savings there. So that brings us to decision making. How does Deltek and AI improve the quality and the speed of decisions to eliminate risk, improve profitability, and accelerate project delivery on the life cycle?
Yeah, I think it's all about informed decision making. And one of the key points I think sort of foundationally to make here is obviously generative AI has been all over the the world for the past couple of
Yes.
years since ChatGPT hit the scene. And generative AI is super powerful. Obviously, we just went through some examples related to generative AI, but the one thing to not lose sight of is more traditional AI, machine learning algorithms,
Mm,
and more sort of mathematical AI, if you will.
mhm.
And this is where that decision making key, really comes into play. And the key thing there, and again, if you bring up the slides, just a visual for people to, connect this in their minds. There is a ton of metrics that are AI based within any ERP or project management solution, whether it be something as simple as estimated completion or estimate to completion, all of those types of things. Those are AI based metrics that can tell you where you're going on your project, and are you going in the right direction or the wrong direction, and give you the ability to course correct before a big problem comes into play. And the two things I want to emphasize here is one, AI is all based on data. As cliche as it may sound,
Mhm.
data is the new oil, right?
Yep.
If organizations aren't using tools the way they were intended to be used, chances are they're going to be less enabled to benefit from the AI capabilities. And a project management tool is a great example of that. If you want to have sort of a single pane of glass, like you see on the screen here, for either your project managers or someone that manages project managers in your business, you need to be using the tool the way it was meant to be used, because that can then expose and report on those AI based metrics to tell you where your projects or where parts of your organization are going. And again, things like
Mm.
estimated completion, things like multiplier, predicted multiplier, all of those give you that line of sight so you can, again, identify potential problems before they become major issues, if you will, on your projects. Go
That's a
ahead,
really
Tom.
important point, is the getting the data in there and making sure you're using the tool as intended so that you understand the structure of the data, that it's recorded accurately, kind of like business intelligence, where people would spend 60% of the time making sure the data is correct. But people have to understand that they're using a tool, how they're recording the data, what the assumptions are. That's really important, because otherwise garbage in, garbage out,
Yep,
right? So
exactly.
that's the foundation. So keep going. I want to hear more
Yeah.
about that line of sight.
Yeah, I was going to say the garbage in, garbage out. And this is, I think,
Okay.
a great, yeah, it's a great example because, it's a little bit different than the garbage in, garbage out. Again, it's using the tool the way it was intended to be used. But if you've got project managers that have that discipline to plan their projects, that isn't going to enable them to monitor their projects better. But not only that, if you think of all the way AI is being used today, it is based on mountains of data.
Yeah.
So the better and the more disciplined you are about getting data into your system, the better off you're going to be down the road when it comes to leveraging, the AI tool that Deltek hasn't even thought of yet, but we're going to somewhere down the road, is going to leverage all that data. And what you're seeing on the screen here is just an example of sort of the benefits of the discipline around project management and getting information into the system. You plan your projects well, you have that sort of AI view or that AI line of sight into where things are going in the future. Again, is it projecting in the wrong direction or the right direction? What can I learn from something going in the positive way? And what do I need to adjust for, something that maybe not tracking in the direction that you'd like?
That's great. So, what are some of the common mistakes people would make when using a platform to avoid using it incorrectly or avoid getting bad data?
So, common mistake, I think probably the most common challenge that I see out there, call it a mistake if you will, but firms come in to look at a system that they want to use to operate their business, let's say a project management type tool. And instead of looking at how sort of best practices and how that tool was designed to work and massaging their business and processes to fit that, instead what they want to do is they want to look at how they've been doing something for years, better or worse, and sort of twist the system to match that and do customizations and sort of do things the way they weren't meant to be done in the system. And while it may sort of make them more comfortable day one when they're starting to implement and use a solution like that, longer term it's probably going to cause a little bit more turmoil and pain. Not to mention, sort of reiterating what I said before, if the tool wasn't used how it was meant to be used, chances are you're not going to be able to take advantage of its full breadth and depth of capabilities if you haven't sort of used it that way. So that's probably the most common thing. It's sort of that over customization. It's twisting the system to work the way I've worked for many, many years versus looking at best practices and how the system was designed to work.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people don't think about that. They think, well, I can just apply AI to what I've got with the data and I can get these phenomenal results. But the reality is, you have to lay the foundation even for years prior to the point where you want to know that, because some of the most valuable data is, if you're looking back, if you're looking for predictive analytics on how we're doing in our business, the best prediction of that is what's your past performance, and looking at the
Exactly.
data that you've had in there, you've got to lay that down. You've got to have data managed well, secured well, and understand how clean it is. And so I'd encourage people to start now on that. It's one of the interesting reasons and hypotheses of why are we getting so many hacking events on smaller companies. It's really there's other countries. When you look at the AI wars between China and the US, China has a lot of the technology and they're ahead on that, frankly, of where the US is at. But what they don't have is the history of quality data that the US companies have of their finances, predictive analytics, and all that. And that's what's being stolen from small businesses right now. And so it's another reason to secure the data, but also it helps us to understand how valuable that data can be when we start to apply analytics to it and
Yeah,
get the value
definitely.
out of it.
Definitely. Probably comes as no surprise, Tom, but if you think about the wealth of data, especially related to project delivery, project performance, and whatnot in some of the systems that Deltek has, we're looking at ways that we can build algorithms on top of that to be more, sort of predictive and forward-looking in nature to really, give customers that next level of artificial intelligence on, how their projects are doing. Because that data, like you said, that is the key part, and that's sort of the secret sauce of our solutions that we can further enable AI tools down the road.
Sounds great. Do you have any examples of how people have done this in predictive analytics right now, or some of the value that you've seen extracted out to really improve project execution?
Well, I do. And in theory, if you go to the slide, I think this is, maybe a simple example, but I hope people sort of understand the value behind this. If you remember when I talked about Dell, one of the things that I talked about was this concept of intelligent exploration. And the reality is, a lot of people that use tools like Deltek bring to the market and similar tools, they may not always know where to find data. They may not know what report to run, what button to click, what option to select to get just what they want. And we recognize that, and we try to constantly do things to improve that. But sort of similar to the example that I talked about with specifications, what if that project manager could just have a conversation with their ERP solution? And that's the example you see on the screen here in terms of vantage point. And in this case, the project manager's question, please analyze the financials for this specific project and let me know what you think the findings are, summarize those for me and tell me some things that I should keep an eye on. And in a matter of seconds, they didn't have to run a report. They didn't have to know where to find data. They just asked the question and they've got some information on that project and some things to look, areas of concern there in terms of, hey, you've got a significant amount of AR that's outstanding for over 82 days. Your
Wow.
JTD earned variance is negative, which could mean, this or that. So, in terms of predictive, in terms of giving that insight and doing it in a much easier way, I think this is a great example of that.
That's really cool. It's almost like people think that AI is going to make a decision for them, but it really illuminates. It illuminates what's happening and brings and draws out insight so that we can use our own wisdom and judgment and expertise in getting that done. Well, that's
Yeah,
great.
I
So
like I like to think, people say artificial intelligence. I like to think of it as it's the intelligence of everybody that's come before us, right? I mean, that's sort of what this is doing when it's giving me those insights and those things to think about. It's all of that wealth of information, again, the data of people and projects that have come before us. So there's really five things that in my conversations with customers and just what I've learned. First off, is don't be intimidated. Now, it's easy for me to say
Okay.
that, but the one thing I've recognized with artificial intelligence, having been in the technology space for almost 30 years now, is the AI technology is some of the most accessible technology I've seen. Anyone can get up and running on these tools and start getting
Yes.
value from them
Yes.
almost immediately. So I think that accessibility is key. The other thing is, look at tools that you already have in place. A lot of vendors, Deltek being one of them, you watch Microsoft, what they've been doing with things like Copilot and whatnot, they're
Mhm.
embedding AI into their tools. So if you already have investment in these tools, you probably have access to AI tools that are already part of your ecosystem. So it doesn't require, this big implementation, big separate investment. Follow thought leadership. Webinars like this are great. I encourage you to sort of look at industry specific thought leadership. There is so much being talked about in this regard. Obviously, keeping security and data
Yeah,
privacy
it's
in
huge
mind is
concern.
huge. You can't talk about AI without talking about this topic. And then lastly, and this is key, especially in today's day and age, we have a whole new generation of knowledge workers coming into the workforce. And these are people that grew up with screens in their hands and devices and app centric and all of that. So remember, it's not all about technology. There's a diverse set of talent in your firm. And the best idea on how to leverage an AI tool in your business might come from somewhere that is not typical for you. It might come from an unexpected place. So make sure you leverage that diverse talent across your entire business.
Those are great points. Yeah, we see people, we did encourage them just to get started. Use the things you already have and where are the tools that you already have in place, because those tools that are in place have already been put in your environment. They're hopefully secured. And to taking a look out at what industry leadership is doing, attending webinars like this is really great. Of course, cybersecurity is something that's got to be the first lens before you put something into your environment is where's the data going? Who owns it? How's it getting trained? How's it getting moved? Does it meet your firm's requirements? Does it compromise what you're doing with your customers and meeting their requirements?
Right.
So that's really important. And the staffing shortage doesn't seem like it's going away. And the technology that we have in place, and particularly AI, holds a lot of promise for helping people be more productive, get more work done, and meet the challenge of short talent and leveraging talent even more so, as we've seen with technology throughout the ages. So I don't think jobs are going to go away in this sense. With that, we're going to just have people that can do more with AI, with wisdom, hopefully. So what's your advice for businesses and firms considering AI implementation, maybe beyond that?
I would say, some of it maybe overlaps a little bit with what we've talked about so far. But first, leverage trusted technology vendors and partners. Tom, you made a great point before in terms of implementing around security, where the data is going, who has access to it, are you training other things, that type of stuff. And one of the key ways you can really sort of protect yourself is leveraging those trusted technology vendors and partners. I think secondly is business use cases. Identify use cases that are valuable to your firm. In other words, find a spot in your firm where you've got a pain point, a problem, or an inefficiency, and figure out how you apply AI to that.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is think small to start with and then build on success there. I think oftentimes people think, I need to do this big AI implementation that's going to take forever. It's going to cost me millions of dollars. But no, I think you can find a small use case, apply AI tech to it, whatever AI tech is relevant to that, and then, get some success out of that and then build from there into other use cases.
That's great. That's great. There's so many places of opportunity, particularly within the AEC space. We're seeing people being able to bolt on a proposal generation and asset management along with data security to be able to accelerate proposal generation and save tons of time. That's been a huge area, along with, of course, the project kind of things as well. But just taking a look at existing objectives, whether you're trying to get your labor multiplier up or make better decisions or generate more proposals, there's tools right now that can help you with that. And we can help select those tools and help put them in place, make sure they're secure, like a Deltek environment. So in a moment, thanks so much for all that, Brett. It's really good. In a moment, I want to address everyone's questions here. But first, let me tell you how to get more help if you need it. You can visit our website at slashblue.com/webinar. That's slashblue.com/webinar. And you can take an easy first step with our diagnostic with a no obligation call. And we'll help you understand how to achieve your biggest objectives faster and blow through those obstacles by selecting the right technology, whether it's improving proposal writing, project efficiency, business intelligence, faster decision making. And at a minimum, you'll gain valuable insight and important questions to ask. So for those who stuck around, thank you. You'll receive two things here. Number one is an ebook summarizing these insights that we've shared today, and you can share it with your company colleagues, and the replay. And also a special offer, as is on the bottom of the screen here, a $100 gift card to Amazon or your preferred retailer when you schedule a discovery call with a C-level executive at your company from this webinar. You can just reach out to me. I'll go to that slashblue.com/webinar and schedule a time. And I'd love to open it up for some Q&A. Thanks so much. All right. So one is, how do we protect data when using AI? Certainly get a qualified cyber analyst to take a look at the system. You want to make sure it's SOC 2 compliant. You want to make sure that where you're sending the data, you want to know if you have any contracts, restrict your ability to share customer information. Fortune 100, government, even customers down the street might have cyber requirements so that you have to protect their data. We all have an obligation to protect one another's data in this day and age. And then make sure your data gets classified and that you know if is it out of date or is it something that is something you can share, and make sure you've got that understood really well and that the right people have access and the wrong people don't have access. It's kind of the principle of least privilege in the security space, where you make sure that only the people that need the data have access to it. And certainly you want as many people in your firm to have access to rich data that can help them to do their jobs better. So Those are a couple answers to how to protect the data when using AI. It's data segmentation, and it's reviewing the tools that go into your environment just to make sure. Let's see. So for Bret, what's the typical timeline for Deltek and implementing some of the AI features on top of some products you already have, let's say, getting familiar with that?
Yes. So I think there's a little bit of dependency on what you're doing. Let me speak more specifically to sort of the Deltek solutions. The good news with the Deltek solutions is it's sort of like I talked about before, look at the tools you already have investment in. If you're a Vantage Point user, for example, the types of things I demonstrated here are available today. Now you have to turn them on because we know that you want to make sure you've sort of vetted them properly before you release them to the masses within your firms. But you can start using those today and start getting benefit from those. Now, I understand that those are sort of simpler and more narrowly focused in terms of specific features and functionality, but those types of things I think you can start getting benefit from almost immediately. More broadly speaking, again, it depends a lot on the tool. There are some great, for example, generative design type tools that I've sort of investigated out there that are certainly relevant in the AEC space. And I talked about the accessibility of technology before, and a lot of these tools are mainstream enough that as long as you're thoughtful on how you look at them, and to Tom's point, you sort of investigate the data side of things, I think 8 to 12 weeks might be more than is needed. But I think within a couple months, you definitely can start getting value from some of these mainstream AI tools that are out there.
Sounds great. We had a question about Dell that popped up, and I missed that when we went through here. Could you pop that back up, Thierry, for us? I think it was a question from Sherry. Yep. So she'd like to know more about Dell, how we can use AI within Deltek and Vantage Point to help generate proposal sections, such as resumes, project descriptions, et cetera. So where are those capabilities now, Bret, versus the future? And how can you help Sherry out?
Yeah, so great question. Love the interest there. So today for Vantage Point, the two primary Dell features are what we call smart summaries. So we have generative AI based client and project smart summaries. And then the second one, which I demonstrated a few times here, is our Ask Dell digital assistant within Vantage Point. The proposal piece, I'm excited to see that you asked about that, because that's something we're working on right now. The ability to leverage information from within the Vantage Point tool itself to generate either parts of proposals or proposals holistically. So that's not there yet, but that is coming. I would expect that to be a perhaps later this year, next year type of thing, but it's a great use case that we're looking to solve as well.
Yeah, that's a great direction. I love it. We're seeing people use Deltek Vantage Point along with a few other tools that are available in the marketplace in order to have the proposal generation as a complete end-to-end solution in their life cycle, depending on whether you use RFPs to go get business or whether you're using it just to generate interest as well. So I want to thank you, Bret, for coming on today. It was a really great conversation. Thank you all for attending and staying to the end. Remember to grab a call at slashblue.com/webinar and get a $100 gift card when you schedule a discovery call, or just reach out and we'll get you information that we can. For information about implementing Deltek AI solutions, you can reach out to Deltek or myself. So everyone, have a great day. Thanks so much for attending.
Client trust is almost impossible to replace. They trust us to keep their information secure. And we have to do that, and we take it very seriously. I don't even want to put a price on that. My name is Matt Fultz. I'm a managing partner of a consulting engineering firm, and I spend every day solving problems. Our clients care about cybersecurity because of the businesses that they're in, the size of the company, the level of liability that they can face, the number of attacks that they're under. In addition to that, we as a growing firm are exposed to liability as well. About 25% of our annual revenue is exposed to cybersecurity liability requirements. Ransomware alone could tank our business for months. It could cost us years of potential revenue. That kind of extended downtime wasn't worth risking to us. The game is always changing. We want to focus on what we're good at and serve our clients in the way we serve our clients. That's certainly not cybersecurity. We're using slashBlue for cybersecurity oversight, but also just help in understanding cybersecurity and what the risks are, educating our staff, educating our IT people, making sure that as business owners, we're aware of the potential risks and liabilities we're exposed to. We're looking for help across the board on all that. The biggest thing slashBlue has solved in terms of cybersecurity for us is peace of mind. There's too many moving parts and too much change in that industry for us to understand. knowing that they have our backs and they're always there for us if something happens is the biggest help we need. All in all, we're having about $20 million a year protected from cyber attacks by slashBlue. And I feel confident knowing that we're meeting all the criteria across the board, that we're protecting ourselves from risk. I am getting reported updates on how we compare to the industry, how we compare to our industry specifically, what standards we're meeting within those criteria, and making sure that our score on cybersecurity is above and beyond what's necessary. The added benefit has been the education of our staff. In our instances of problems related to data access that shouldn't be allowed has been really helpful. If you have any concern at all about cybersecurity in your business, I highly encourage you to get in touch with slashBlue.